So, but I'm talking about people and skills. When I came to Rheintacho 7 years ago as a consultant, they didn't even know what it meant to have people and skills. They had no new employees for over 75 years. We had, let's say, a staff with an average age of 58, and nobody was thinking about the future. Of course, we had people very experienced who knew what they were doing, but nobody thought about how they could improve, how do we motivate them, and so on. So I'd just like to start off by saying, why is it so important to think about people and connect this to the skills that they have? Well, first of all, we want to have a general improvement of competence levels within the company. That means increasing flexibility towards the customer, for example, or internally, and also to improve the substitution internally in case of unplanned absences. So we all experienced during the pandemic that people would just suddenly not be available. And that could, for us, that meant we had certain skills which were also no longer available. So we had to learn to deal with that. In addition, it also provides a motivation rise most of the time within a company. That means we're investing in people, time, money, whatever it is. We're showing our staff that we trust them and that we also trust them to learn new things and also to be more competent. Of course, you have to also be careful that you don't overload people with too much development and make sure that they're also willing to go that path with you. And finally, the sustainability of the business, meaning we have to have the right people with the right skill set in order to face the challenges of tomorrow, whatever they may be, depending on the business you're in. So another thing which is important concerning sustainability is also retaining the staff that we have even before we start investing in them and improving their skill set by offering them growth opportunities and, of course, connecting this to eventually some kind of remuneration. So tools do we use or methods do we use at Rheintacho, all of which I have introduced in the last few years, whether it was as a consultant or now as the owner of the company, because you probably know I did a management buyout at the beginning of 2022, were basically 4 different tools that I work with. One of them is succession planning. Succession planning, this means we do a top-down analysis for short, medium, and long-term needs of people and, of course, of skills. So this means that we have to take a look at what do we need, who's going to retire, how are we going to replace them, do we have to work with apprentices, or do we do on-the-job training for people who are going to replace, let's say, people who are going into retirement? Of course, we also have the unplanned replacements which happen. Are we ready for that? Can we close the gap short term? Or are we just too far away from that? Maybe we have to lease some people for a certain period of time and so on. Yeah, so that's the first thing you have to do, in our opinion, in order to say, okay, we're ready for the future. And even if we go all the way up to top level in management, let's say you've got an owner of an SME who plans on stopping work sometime in the future. So for example, me, I know I'm going to work another 10 years. And that means I've got 10 years time to prepare the people and the company for my retirement, let's say, if I do ever retire. The second thing that I work with is a kind of skills matrix. That means who can presently do what and what kind of skills do we need for different jobs. So by combining these 2 elements, I can easily identify I call them skill gaps. That means what's missing. And then when we take the future into consideration, which also has some of these, let's say, components of succession planning, or maybe even strategic growth of the company. For example, a few years ago, I said, okay, let's concentrate on the spares and repairs business. It definitely has increased tremendously since then, but it also means that some of the younger people in the company are now confronted with having to repair devices which perhaps are 70, 80 years old, coming back from the market, coming back from maybe even a Victorian power station, which is perhaps now a museum, but still running. And obviously they don't have the skills for that because they don't know the product. So that's something we would have to develop before saying, okay, let's take that step into that business, promote it, get customers for it, and then in the end, not have the people who can do the work. So we have to know exactly what we need. The third topic we talk about are qualification profiles. That means, as I don't particularly like to have a job description because a job description is a little bit too, let's say, not flexible enough. And then when I do a qualification profile, I can say, okay, what are the skills necessary for a particular job? I think Charles, for example, would say, what are the qualification profile of a sales rep that I need for the Midwest of the United States? It could even be that that's very different to having somebody who is, let's say, well suited to do the same job in the state of New York. Me coming from New York would definitely agree with that. So it means we're developing people around necessary qualifications instead of saying developing a job around an individual person. So, and finally, so I'm almost done, Ilona, we do a potential analysis to say, okay, who do we think are the right people to develop for the jobs of tomorrow, but also for the responsibility of tomorrow, meaning leadership skills, managerial skills, strategic planning, implementation, improving or increasing the responsibility of individuals. And by doing a potential analysis, at the end of that, we know where we should invest our money, and we agree on a kind of roadmap with each individual person as to how their, let's say, career could develop and what additional skills and soft skills included they would perhaps need. So basically, that's what we do in order to, let's say, make the business more sustainable and make the people happy and motivated, which has, of course, an effect on productivity. And if you're interested, we can provide you with more information. And I even offer consultancy services for any company who says, oh, we need help with that. So thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed it.